Humanity and the human experience in general is an experiment. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, if you think about creation, you think of everything as one unified conscious whole. That means that the source of creation is also conscious, is also aware, because our awareness, our consciousness doesn't just magically come out of nowhere. That'd be strong emergence. That would be impossible. But actually, our consciousness, our awareness is a derivative, is a finite manifestation, a configuration of the all, the infinite, the universe, God, Vishnu, however you want to define it. Okay? So each individual solar system, race, entity, perspective, however granular or expansive and broad you want to be, you can shrink it down to an atomic level or even, proton or photon level or even smaller than that. And you can expand it up to universal, galactic, the deified level, archetypal level. So as big as you want or small as you want. But each aspect of creation is like an experiment. It is the creator or all of creation understanding itself by interacting with itself and forming itself into different configurations and interacting with different aspects of itself from different perspectives that are all finite. So the human race in particular, right, is an interesting experiment because we live in a free will universe, and Earth as just a planet is quite chaotic because there's a lot of different energies happening here. There's a lot of central focus going on Earth right now, as you can kind of feel this energy, you can feel this progression happening because humanity and Earth in general is going through a transition into a higher state of evolution, to a higher frequency, to a higher vibration, to a higher density of existence, of manifestation, but more so consciousness, energy, frequency. So because of this right now, humanity is going through a lot of growing pains. But the feelings of this being an experiment, of kind of this vibe of that we're under the microscope or that there's some kind of climactic event that is meant to manifest within humanity, well, that is true because, again, we are just a finite manifestation of God, of the creation of the all. And through our different unique perspectives, there is learning to happen. There's learning to happen. There's learning to be had. There is understanding and lessons to be learned. So when I say that humanity is an experiment, the way to perceive it is that the human experience is rife, full of lessons to be learned. And not to be overly attached to the human experience or even humanity as a whole, but understanding that this is just a temporary configuration of the all. This is just a single manifestation, a single incarnation of your soul, of your individualized configuration of consciousness, and that you will persist on past this incarnation, and that humanity is not all there is. Obviously, there's infinite, countless other living entities. There's also other living entities that are involved in humanity's progression right now as we speak, whether that's disclosed or not, right? More of that disclosure is happening and progressing as we move along, but we don't have to get into that specific conspiratorial woo-woo road, but understanding that humanity is going through growing pains and humanity is an experiment. And so understanding how are you manifested within this human experiment? What individual particular lessons are you meant to learn in the human experience, in the human experiment? And that understanding that humanity is not something to be overly identified with, and being overly identified with being a human, or that being a human is better or worse than other living entities, or that it holds some special perspective that other perspectives may not be able to fulfill. Okay, that's fine. But not becoming overly attached to being a human or the human experiment or the human experience, because it has lots of beautiful and amazing experiences and lots of harrowing and tragic aspects of existence and lots of suffering, but also lots of love and joy and unity, right? So it has its ups and downs like all different experiences, right? I would argue, though, that humanity, especially at this time right now, has a lot of those ups and downs. There's a high amplitude. There's a lot of those peaks and valleys going on, especially right now, as humanity is going through these growing pains along with Earth. and all living beings along with it. But at the end of the day, understanding that you are just a product of this experiment, and you can have a certain level of curiosity about your own life, but also the human experience and planet Earth, and understanding that there are many different experiments. There's actually infinite experiments happening all across creation, and every single incarnation is a different opportunity to play a game or to learn or to live and experience directly and to grow and develop. Because what's the point of an experiment? The point of an experiment is to learn, to understand more about creation, more about the universe. And so each incarnation, each entity is its own individualized experiment. And think of Earth like a school or even a laboratory or an experiment. I guess, laboratory or experimental laboratory, if you're Dexter. But each planet is its own lab, or even each solar system can be seen as a laboratory. You could even then expand it out to the galaxy and so on and so forth, ad infinitum. So yeah, don't be overly attached to the human experience and what's going on, and be able to see through the peaks and valleys, and also understanding why you have incarnated and what is the experiment that is your life, and what is the perspective within the human experience that is meant to be manifest through you.